August 24th, 2021. We're here with Kevin Van Den Elzen. This is episode 29. We're one away from 30, but 29 is the best number because we have legend, the guy, the Flying Dutchman, Kevin Van Den Elzen. Woo woo! Yeah. What's up, Kevin? How are you, bro?
I'm doing very good. Thank you. Thanks for having
It's
me,
really
man.
nice for you to be here. What's been filling your bucket lately?
It's slowly coming back to normal with schedule wise,
Uh,
luckily. I've been playing a good amount. Still goes, ebbs and flows. But last week was busy, and this week again is also actually very busy. And then yeah, for the next coming weeks, there's like a bunch of stuff on the docket. So I'm not complaining anymore.
I was looking at your upcoming gigs calendar on your site, and yeah, man, it's looking fat. Um,
Yeah,
there's oh, go for it.
no, it's pretty good with public gigs. Like, there's also some private stuff, obviously, that I won't put on there. So
Sure.
yeah, but I'm not complaining about the public gigs. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think the same has kind of gone for me lately too. I don't know about you, but August kind of blew up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like June 15th happened. Everyone was like, okay, I'm not gonna wear my mask anymore. And now everyone's like, okay. And July's like, wow. And then August is like, man, okay, I'm gonna wear a mask. I better play my show now
Yeah.
before I can't anymore. I Do you know people that have gone that have gotten stuff canceled already? Like bigger gigs?
Uh, no, not really, actually. Thus far, everything is like pretty
Nice.
steady from people that are in my immediate surroundings. So I hope that that's going to stay that
Yeah.
way.
Let's say a little something something.
Yeah.
GBGB up there talking about getting keeping our gigs, baby.
Yes, yes,
Oh man.
exactly.
Yeah, it's been a wild. It's kind of I was telling people earlier this year when back in the beginning of it all, it's kind of like the Wild West, but I think now is kind of like the real Wild West because
Yeah.
now it's like do what it's hard to be too blunt about it, but it's like it's either follow the rules that you've already given yourself or not. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just and it's kind of it's scary to me
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
like let's give me that booster, dude. Show me the line. I'm gonna
Mhm.
you know. Well, others are like I don't know, but whatever. It's to each their own. Just don't cancel my gig. Like that's
Yes,
it.
that's the most important thing,
Like
that
don't
gigs are
close
not getting
down that
canceled.
club. You know.
No, 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 no. Like we just as you said it, like we just started up again with playing a good amount, and it should stay that way because we've everybody like us musicians and artists, we had a pretty decent blow,
Yeah.
and then I'm putting myself out there lightly. So yeah, I'm hoping that everything is going to, be on the incline. Um,
Oh, it will.
and
It
uh,
will.
and yeah, that's kind of my take on it. And please don't cancel my gigs.
Please don't cancel our gigs. That is the
Yeah.
slogan of the day. Everybody, make
Mm.
sure get that on a
Hmm.
T-shirt. That should be a T-shirt, actually. Don't
That should
cancel
be a
my
T-shirt.
gigs, man.
For a number of reasons,
We need
not
the
just
idea
COVID.
guy in here.
Yeah.
The idea guy with the T-shirt hookup. Um, man. Well, Kevin, thank you again for being here. I'm actually really excited for this one.
Me too, man.
It's
Yeah.
really nice to interview someone local, but also someone that's very accomplished, such as yourself, and has a great story alongside it as well.
Thanks. I
Um,
appreciate that.
Before though, we kind of get into the the epitaph. Is it the epitaph? Is that a good way to put it? The
Hmm.
of Kevin here. Let's let's do a little bit of the drum news.
Yeah.
Yeah, drum news. Welcome to the drum news, everybody. As maybe if you've been under a rock the whole morning and haven't checked your phone, then you might not have heard. But we lost a really Kevin, I'll put you in the picture here. We lost a giant in the drumming world today. Mr. Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones has passed away, gone to the big drum kit in the sky at age 80. Charlie was a huge inspiration to early rock and roll, playing with the Rolling Stones. He was the key to the Stones' sound, as I guess Mitch and Keith would say. Actually, he loved jazz, which is really funny. Not so
That's
funny,
true.
but he was a huge jazz nut and branched out midway in his career to play jazz and stuff too, which is kind of nice. Watts was the final member to join the Stones, but this is an interesting fact. They thought he was too accomplished to be a permanent member. He said Watts is quoted saying every band that he had been in prior had been only for a week. And this one, lasted 30 years or something. Crazy.
Yeah.
And there was no cause of death yet, which I'm sure we're all wondering, how did he die? But we actually did on the drum news, maybe in the past 2-3 weeks, we talked about Charlie because he had in the beginning of August had canceled his appearances on the tour due to medical reasons. He had undergone some sort of procedure, and that could be code for surgery, not sure. Some sort of procedure, and the doctors just told him to rest. One of my favorite Charlie quotes from this particular era of his life was that his timing was off just this time about getting his medical work done and lining up with the tour. I'm sure that's something we'll all have to deal with as we age. Lastly here, it's really noted that Charlie had beat substance abuse in the 70s and 80s, but also beat throat cancer in 2004. What an iron chest of a dude, but I guess it takes everyone someday, so Charlie has left us with the legacy of iconic rhythm. It will live on forever, and so big R.I.P. to Charlie Watts, Rolling Stones. Without that guy, I don't think there would be a lot of drummers, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you been a Stones fan?
I am not particularly a Stones fan, but on the radio you would hear them, at least once a week, at least when I was growing up. So,
Yeah.
obviously I'm familiar with their tunes and stuff, but
Yeah.
but
Even
not a huge fan.
mhm. I feel like even some of their, like almost everyone has played, I Can't Get No Satisfaction at a wedding or
Exactly.
as a request or in some way, shape, or form. So, he's we've had to imitate him many, many a time, even if we
Yeah.
don't know it,
Yeah.
So, yep, big ups to Charlie, and let's give him some claps here. He's in the big jam session in the sky now, so we'll go see if he's up there one day.
Yeah.
Never. We'll find out where he made it. I think
Hopefully he did.
He would laugh with us on that one. Come on.
Yeah. Hey,
Have some
he's
sense
a
of humor.
Brit, so
Yeah. Well, cool. Kevin, we're here at the Drum Stream, episode 29, interviewing. I just kind of want to lead off with, how did you get the nickname, Flying Dutchman? And do you stand by that nickname? It is on your Instagram, so I figured it would be okay to say it more than once.
Is it still on my Instagram, the
Yeah.
Flying Dutchman, or is it Swinging Dutchman? I can't.
Oh, maybe, I play in a pirate band with my dad, so
Uh-huh.
I might have mixed the two.
Yeah,
But
because
Swinging
there's a ship.
Dutchman seems more appropriate for your line of work.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm. I may have just answered my own question.
Yeah.
Um, so
I have to
obviously
look
you're
on
a
my
great
Instagram page
drummer.
for that.
Yeah, you're a great drummer here in LA. I'd love to kind of just lead off then, rather with how did you come to music? You obviously had a long journey before you got to the states. Can you cue us in on how that came about?
Yeah, it depends a little bit like where you want me to start.
Well,
Like
did you start playing on pots and pans? Were you did you get in the band and like yeah? How did it all start? Take me to the young age, the
s-
young years.
when I was
Was
when I was 5 years old.
it five?
uh, no, I started playing when I was three because my dad was a drummer, and there was a big old sonar kit that my dad inherited from his uncle on our attic, and I don't remember that moment anymore, but I've seen a couple pictures of my very first time behind that kit, and I was
Wow.
just, banging on the drums, and that was kind of like the start of it. And then I started to get lessons when I was 5, because my dad was involved with like a couple brass bands back home. Um, and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's go to like an open day of the local music school." And
Mm.
uh, sat behind a kid, and the drum teacher was like, "Yeah, you should get lessons."
Wow.
And so I started at a music school, and this was like in elementary school, and the Dutch educational system is a little different music-wise than the American system. Like here in
Mm.
particularly high schools, you have like bands and jazz combos and schools for the arts and schools for music and marching bands and all of that. And none of that is really available in Holland,
Okay.
um, except for like one or two special high schools for music or for the arts. Um, so I started to get the jazz bug when I was 8, because my dad had a couple of jazz records, a couple Sinatra things that I was really taken by. But my teacher at the time showed me Buddy Rich and his big band, and I was like, "That's what I want to do."
Wow.
So
Wow. So Buddy Rich was like a big inspiration initially.
initially, yeah, yeah, like I was already
Maybe still.
pretty. He still is. I don't. I mean, he's one of the greatest drummers ever.
Yeah.
Um, but I was very taken by the big band concept, and I was always pretty interested in large ensembles.
Mm.
Um, so that started to happen when I was like about 8, and I started to branch out myself, check stuff out. Um, but another record that my dad brought home with him, um, like I don't know exactly when I heard it for the first time, but Sinatra at the Sands was like a
Is that with
very,
Basie?
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Basie and Quincy Jones is directing, and as soon as I heard that record, I started to play along with the tunes of that record, and yeah, from there I started to branch out to um, other people. And there's also a pretty heavy tradition in radio ensembles in Europe.
Yeah.
Big bands that are broadcasting on the radio, which was big in Holland. It's not that big anymore, but the Germans still have a couple bands, such as the WDR big bands. And I had like a bunch of CDs from them, and through that band, I uh, got to know Peter Erskine and Jeff Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, from that point on, I was really branching out into like the people who inspired Peter and Jeff, yeah, the WDR band has also a pretty special place in my heart with their recordings um, I was very fortunate also to get to know or I that I know a bunch of people from that band now. Like I'm good friends
Yeah.
with the drummer of that band, and I've seen a bunch of concerts, and I went to rehearsals and all of that. So um, that's kind of how that started off. And fast forward, I went into my undergrad at the Conservatory of Amsterdam for my prep year when I was 17, and then I started my actual undergrad at Amsterdam in 2010,
Uh-huh.
I believe.
What is a prep year?
Yeah, so um, they have a program basically that if you apply and you audition for the conservatory basically,
Mm.
then there is an option for the teachers to put you in a prep year, which is technically a scaled down version of the freshman year. And so basically you get drum lessons, drum lessons, ensemble lessons, and then a couple of theory classes like solfege classes
Mm.
and some basic theory. And my solfege was like horrendous. Like I could hear intervals, but I was like, I don't know what a major seventh chord is, or what a minor seventh chord
Yeah,
is, or
yeah.
whatever. So they were like, yeah, your playing is okay, but your theory is not good, so we can't accept you in the first year. But let's put you in the prep year so that you can ramp up those theory and solfege skills.
Yeah.
And so I did, and they put me in, and I just transitioned into the freshman year, and then graduated in 2014. Um, and during that time, I got to meet John Clayton and Jeff Hamilton, and
And in Amsterdam.
couple, yeah, I met them in Amsterdam. I met a bunch of people in Amsterdam. I actually met a couple LA guys also over there before I moved to LA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I met Adam Hirsch and Andy McCauley and Shai Golan, Victor Sampedro, Kirk Portugues, Zach Remesier, like that whole CSUN
Oh,
hang.
yeah.
I met them in Amsterdam.
What were they doing over there? Not to sway
They
away from the story too much, but
no,
it
because
sounds
I
like
mean
they were on a band, in a band together.
they were
Okay.
in a band together, and I'm happy to talk about that because Adam is like one of my best homies and ridiculous piano player,
Yeah.
and I play a lot with Adam. And they were there for a competition because every year the conservatory would host a jazz
Oh, I see.
competition
Got it.
for several schools around the world. So I believe that year when Adam came out with the CSUN gang, and Gary Pratt was also joining them, which was kind of cool because Gary was like super vocal about supporting them, and when they were playing, he was like, "Yeah, guys, yeah, yeah," and I never experienced something like that, so I was like, "This guy is super cool."
Yeah, is I'm curious to know, is that like a I mean, the hooting and hollering of jazz, in America is like a very, even Americans think it's weird sometimes. Like when you find, I call the people that don't get it muggles. So when the muggles don't understand like why everyone's clapping at the same time, or
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know, is that culture, does that cross over, is that just a jazz thing, or is that a uniquely American jazz thing?
No, it's not uniquely American. I definitely
Okay.
heard lots of woos and wows
Right on.
in my undergrad
Right
period.
on.
Yeah, that definitely crossed over the pond for sure.
Good.
Um, but like that CSUN gang and that generation of CSUN cats were very very tight together, and
Yeah.
that was super cool to experience. Um, and I experienced that in Amsterdam too, but it's just kind of like a different thing because in Amsterdam, it's an international school with a lot of different people, a lot of different cultures and backgrounds. Um,
Hmm.
so you know that definitely brings people together. Like there was like a whole we called them the Spanish Mafia. There was like a whole group of people from Spain who would hang with each other, like all the time. And not to say that that other people couldn't hang with them, but like it was like a
Yeah.
group of Spanish people, and I was like, oh, this is super cool.
The Clayton. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the Season Cats, they came out for that jazz competition, and we got to talk with each other at a jam session. And I was like, oh, in a few months, I'm actually moving to LA to attend USC, and they were like, oh, sweet, just hit us up. And so I met John Clayton and Jeff Hamilton while I was in my undergrad, and they kept I kept in touch with them over the years. And then my the moment that I decided to go to LA was that the Clayton Hamilton Jazz Orchestra was in Holland for a European tour,
Mm.
and I went to go see a concert, and I went backstage, and I saw John there, and I saw Jeff there, and I was hanging a little bit with Jeff. And then I asked Jeff, like, hey, is there another time, or like do you have like a gap in your schedule this coming week where we could hang. And he was like, sure, come to the rehearsal and sound check in Amsterdam. And I went there that afternoon, and that afternoon slash evening completely changed my life, because Jeff was so gracious with his time, and I sat like less than a feet away from him behind the drums, and heard
Wow.
him, like do all of those things that he does with the band, and how the band responds to him, and all of these like tips and
Yeah.
pieces of advice that he gave me of playing in a big band. And then he asked me, like, do you know Blues for Stephanie? And I was like, sure, yeah, I know that one. And he was like, okay, you'll sit behind the drums, and I'm gonna sit where the audience sits, and you can play with the band, and I can see how the sound is. And I was like,
Ah.
uh okay, I didn't see that one
Oh,
coming.
that's awesome.
So I was like, fuck, excuse my language, but
Ah.
I was like, wow, this happening? So sat down behind the drums and played that tune, and Jeff was screaming at me like, play louder. and
That's
uh,
funny.
and yeah, and that was an experience for me, that like I got to play with a band that has been together for like years, and John conducting the band and all of that. And that band is like so incredibly supportive. Like all of the guys who are playing in that band are incredible
Yeah.
musicians and people.
Was Gilbert there?
And Gilbert was there,
That's
yeah.
cool, man.
And Bijan was there in the band, and that's where I got to meet Brian Schwartz also for the first time. And he's a trumpet player who I love. And he unfortunately moved to Texas during the pandemic, but he
Uh-huh.
was like a fixed member of my big band, and we did like a bunch of gigs here together. And Tamir on piano and Graham on guitar, like it was all the cats. And I was like, well, and some random Dutch guy who's trying to play some drums. Um,
Do you have any
and but
recordings from that? Did you think to like put your phone under your tom or anything? Oh,
no, no, no,
that's
no,
just a
no,
moment in
no.
your head that'll stick there forever.
I have pictures. John made pictures of me playing the drums, and yeah, I have a couple of pictures from that afternoon
That's
that
awesome.
I will. I mean, that's the whole reason, kind of why I'm here. That because that was the moment that I was like, this is the shit that I want to do,
Yeah.
and I need to get my ass over to LA. And I knew that Peter was teaching at USC, so long story short, Jeff was very gracious of writing a letter of recommendation for me, and I applied for USC and got in, and made my way across the Atlantic pond, so to
Yeah.
speak, and
And
the rest is history.
well, I'm gonna dive into that history a little bit because you got a full ride to USC.
For my second year,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I was reading your bio and it says something about you getting a full ride, but you also got a bunch of scholarships through. Uh, so tell me about that. Like, uh, from if anyone's ever been through the collegiate education model, especially going to schools, like USC, with such prestige and such a cost,
Yeah.
how did you manage that? I mean, they don't give discounts to to people in state hardly. So to come from
Nope.
out of state, that's where they're getting an out of country international student. Obviously, I've known plenty of international students that have gotten very very modest scholarships, which I think is great, and it's
Yeah.
more of a it's the reason to get their numbers looking good, but also to give you the chance and the experience. So to hear that Jeff wrote you a letter, to hear that you got to play in this band, it sounds like it was almost like almost like a grooming thing to come in, but like in a good way, like not in like
Yeah.
a I don't know, not in a favoritism or anything, but it was just like, yeah, like let's give this guy a shot, and it's totally worked, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your calendar can show for that, so it's very cool. So yeah, how did you navigate the financial problems or anything coming from home to here?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's a good thing that you're asking it, but because it doesn't get talked about a lot,
Yeah.
and I that's a very nice way of how you're saying it, that they gave me the opportunity to be groomed by John and Jeff. Um,
Well, and
uh,
they already
s-
knew you. I think that's the most important thing too, is because if you were had you not had that experience and you applied to USC, who's to know what would have happened?
Right, exactly, yeah. And for them, uh, they're two of the most generous and sweetest people that I know. But they are super serious about their music.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff is so almost protective about his legacy, and the people that he played with. Like if you talk with him about Ray Brown, if you talk to both Jeff and John about Ray Brown, it's like that's he's sort of their father, kind of.
Yeah.
Same goes for Oscar Peterson or Count Basie. If you talk with those two cats about the older cats that they got to play with, it's nothing but respect and honoring the legacy of those cats, and with them, if they notice about like a young guy that you're into the stuff that they're doing, but also into the stuff that came before them, then then you're in their circle, because they don't fuck around.
Yeah. I
they
think
never they ne-
that's great advice to for anyone that's listening that wants to get into or understand where their heroes came from. Is just the said you said after is what came before your heroes,
yeah,
and
yeah,
but also like when you have that commonality, it helps. I don't want to say it helps you get in, but it helps just have a conversation with someone when you don't know
absolutely,
anything else other than music with people. Sometimes it's hard to chat even,
yeah,
unless like you both checked out the same records, which
yeah,
is a
absolutely.
great way to get in with or to like just start chatting with people and developing a relationship.
And that's kind of like the old school thing, like uh, not to deviate, because I definitely want to answer your question about the
Oh right.
costs,
Where do we go?
um, but like Joe Farnsworth, if you're not following him on Instagram or YouTube, like
Mm-hmm.
Farnsworth is one of those guys who is like all about the tradition and keeping that legacy of all of the cats. He said, there's this wonderful video of him showing brush techniques, that he goes like, oh, this is how Vernel Fournier plays a ballad, or this is how Roy Haynes plays a ballad, or this is how Billy Higgins plays a ballad.
Yeah.
And just that kind of, like, people call me People call me a purist.
Uh-huh.
In that sense, I don't consider myself a purist because I also love, like modern stuff and all of that. But I consider myself a purist in the way that you have to know you have to know what has come before you, and also what has come before the people who you like. So,
Yeah.
I checked out the people that were an inspiration to Peter, the people who were an inspiration to Jeff, the people who were an inspiration to Joel and Barbara. Um, and then you're going into, Mel Lewis and John Von Olen, Philly Joe Jones, Jack Sperling, Nick Ceroli, those kind of people. Um, so, yeah, and I believe that uh, I don't think it's going away, but I think that what I'm seeing from not all of the young guys who are younger than us,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe with technology nowadays, with Spotify and YouTube and all of that stuff, how easily accessible everything is. It oftentimes is also forgotten to really dig into something and to seek out the people who did all of the stuff that you love. And that was, for me, that was, I don't know, that was sort of something that was in my mind like all the time, because the first time that I heard Jeff Hamilton play, I was like, this is my guy, and I need to find a way to get in touch with this guy.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to meet John first, and he laid a line to Jeff.
Right.
So that's kind of important for me, because it's now just part of my identity, personally, and in a musical sense as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I kind of always say it's kind of. I mean, to put another metaphor, it's kind of like tracing your line backwards, or
Yeah,
retracing your steps.
yeah,
Where'd you go through? How'd you do it? And
yeah,
you always find some key individuals there that have helped. On those like crossroad paths, the fork in the road where like you went Jeff Hamilton or you went blah 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 or somewhere. It's really cool, and
yeah.
it really
No,
like it
thanks.
tells that story of like who we all come to be at that point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which now, in my opinion, is more important than ever. Because there's so many great players, and there's so much music out there, and there's nothing but actually to, really stick with your own guns, and
Yeah,
go and explore, and create your own identity. Um,
absolutely.
so, and for me, it took me a little while to get there. But for other people, that goes a little quicker. For other people, it goes a little slower. But you know, we'll get there
Yeah.
eventually.
So you got your master's at USC,
Yeah,
and is that a MM or is that an MFA or is that an MA?
it's a master's in music, so I believe it's
MM.
an MM. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Cool. I've run into a couple of problems sometimes because CalArts gives an MFA,
Mm-hmm.
which, to defend it, is a terminal degree, which means it's a very like that's the end of the road degree for
Aha.
like it's at the height of like it's a good degree, right? But
Yeah.
to get like college gigs, sometimes you have to have the. I'm sure you had to give some sort of equivalency test even to get in USC because you had to have your credits from Amsterdam satisfy the credits to even start a master's because I think people that are coming from community college to a 4-year university out here, for instance, they run into that where like their music histories didn't line up with the 4 years university history, and
Right.
they have to like retake all this crap, and it's kind of annoying. But
Yeah. Yeah. The
um,
system is a little flawed.
yeah, yeah. But
It doesn't.
also they want to
Let me.
fit you into 2 years.
Right, right. Well, let me rephrase. It's a hard system to get through.
Yeah,
It's not easy to get through. I
sure.
mean, for international students, or for domestic students, or in-state or whatever.
Right.
Um, but uh, yeah, talking about that, the costs for attending USC because USC is a private university.
Right.
So the tuition, I don't exactly know what it is right now, but when I went there, it was for a master student, it was $33,000 for a school year,
Ooh, it's more than that
which
now.
uh, you're looking it up.
I will. I will in a second. Go on.
Yeah, and then you're not even including housing or like food and all of that stuff. Um, so yeah, I was looking at the tuition, and I knew that American schools were far more expensive than European schools
Yes.
because my conservatory, the conservatory in Amsterdam, is a school that's funded also by the government. So tuition is far lower than than at USC.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
so as soon as I got the notification from Peter that I was in, which was like around my story is also kind of like not the typical story how that went with Peter because I never also did a live audition because the live audition weekend was in a weekend that I actually was gigging in Austria. So I got in touch with Peter and it was allowed to send in another round of videos after the first round.
Mm.
Um, but I also wanted to talk with him and tell him what I want to get out of his teachings and all of that stuff. Um, so I got the pretty much the approval from Peter, and I started to apply for every scholarship that I could find in Holland. And there are scholarships through the government. There are private scholarships as well. So I applied for a Fulbright program,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't accept me for reasons unknown. But it's actually also for the better because with the Fulbright, if you finish your education, then you have to return home because they're expecting that you're going to bring that information that you acquired in the U.S. and bring that back to your home country.
Oh.
Uh, so
So you knew
I
from the start that you wanted to stay in LA.
I didn't
Oh, okay.
actually, um, but after 2 years of studying with Peter, I was like, I'm gonna give this a shot and add another year to my stay over here and see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, so I was very lucky that I got except for the Fulbright, but the rest of the scholarships gave me a full scholarship because of the fact that Peter also gave me the promise that I would get a TA position at SC for my
Mm.
second year. All of the slots were already full
Yeah.
for the first year, but for the second year, and that takes away a huge chunk of money.
TAing
Uh,
is underrated.
yes,
Definitely. I
yes,
did the same thing at CalArts, and yeah, it really helps.
yeah,
It
yeah,
helps with
and
your I don't know how can you say. I think it's with your just life expenses at the end of the day, like because going to
that
grad school, at our age too isn't. Um, I don't know. For you, it sounded like, and just almost the same for me is when I had to go to grad school. I had to kind of quit some of the gigs that I was doing. Obviously, and you have to go to a completely new place, country.
yeah, yeah.
No, where zero gigs, zero notoriety. Other
Yeah,
than
I started from scratch.
yeah. So, yeah, getting that cash flow to keep you busy and not depressed is nice.
Yeah, yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, and I can imagine that you had to say no to a couple of gigs because when you're a TA, then they're expecting you to be in school, so you have to be in school. So that in my second year, I also had a couple of offers to go out of town or whatever. And there was this one time that I couldn't do it because I would be gone a week from school, and and I was also doing the big band with Mincer, and they were kind of like, yeah, you're on a scholarship program, so we can't let you go out because you have to stay in school, which is a blessing and a curse because on the other hand, I was like, well, I get to do a concert with Bob Mincer, and I love Bob. He's
Yeah.
a ridiculous musician On the other hand, like you're missing out on a little bit of real life experience.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, it was like, yeah, this is like this is just the most important thing. Like I am in school, and school is school, and they're expecting me to be here. So you know, you, you,
School
you
is cool, dude.
yeah, yeah,
School is
school.
cool.
It is cool. It is cool, but school is also school.
Oh, I thought you said school is cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a double meaning to it. School, it's
Yeah.
school, or school is cool.
Correct.
But
Depends on
um,
who you ask.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I basically got with the money that I got from those organizations in Holland, and with a little bit of um, support also, because the Dutch government will give you like student financing, and I only used my basic scholarship during my undergrad, so I didn't use any extra money.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get a large chunk of money in college credit. They call that college credit. Um, that kept my monthly costs also covered. And I basically walked out of USC with like barely any debt.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, so that's pretty amazing. You're kind of starting off after school with a clean slate, kind
Yeah.
of.
Man, right
Um,
on.
yeah, and I think, or I don't know exactly, but USC gives out scholarships, but it is hard to get those scholarships, but they do. Um, but if for anybody who's watching either internationally or domestic, like just go and check out scholarship programs, either private or government programs that can help you out with going to school.
Yeah.
So
And always ask for more. Don't be
yes.
afraid to ask for more money.
No, you gotta be. I mean, you have to be like a little blunt, but for the Dutch organizations, you have to say like, okay, what is it that you do, and what is it that you want to do? And I started a professional big band a couple years before I moved out, and I was very lucky that in the first 6 months after I founded the band, that we gigged like almost every month, either one or two performances a month, which is a lot.
For a big band,
And
sure.
for a big band, yeah. And this was still back in Holland. And there was this one interview that I went to for a scholarship, and they were like, "So what is it that you do?" And I was like, "Well, I teach a little bit, and I sub here and there." And they go like, "But you also have this incredible professional band." And I was like, "Oh, you want to know about this?" Um, so I had my own project to show, and that doesn't need to be a big band. It can also be like a small group.
Sure.
But I had something tangible to show to those people. Like, look, I'm very serious about my craft
Yeah.
and what I want to do, and they like that. They need to know those kind of people. Generally speaking, are in the arts but might not be a musician.
Mm-hmm.
But those people definitely need to know that like you have something tangible and you want to really go for something. So if you have a project to show, um, then that's usually the way how you can get some funds together.
Well, man, that sounds really great. So, just if I could put a cap on it really quick, you kind of pretty much self financed your first year, and then the second year was taken care of.
Yeah,
Man, that's amazing.
yeah.
That's a you are man. I just the cape that you wore telling that story. It's like it's incredible to hear um, that that it's possible
it, it
that stuff
it
can happen.
is it is definitely possible. I'm extremely grateful, and I'm extremely grateful for Peter and for Mincer, and the support that they gave me. But it does come with a lot of hard work. Like before I came over here, or before I moved over here, I literally worked my butt off to get those funds in order, and USC was also very, very. I was in touch with this very lovely lady, Kit, who is in charge of international students and international relations, and going from taking you through the process of like
Yeah.
being accepted into the program and then actually move into the program. They have like a special person for that, Kit Bellamy, and she was amazing in keeping in touch with me. Um, so it comes with a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck and just gratitude and staying humble.
Sure.
That's and you know if you keep yourself to those standards, then anything can be possible, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You really can go for the dreams that you want to pursue and make them happen.
Man. Absolutely. Well, let's take a little break. We're gonna take a little crank our snares break, baby. Yeah, everybody, crank our snares today. Make sure you go to the About section of our Twitch, where you will find a donate button. You can donate to us today. We're raising a modest $27. If you want to give that all in one final blow, I would deeply appreciate that. If you do that, there will be a notification up on the Twitch stream here, so everyone can see how gracious you could be. Appreciate that, y'all. And let's get back to the interview here. So, you're out of SC with no debt. You're a full-fledged Trojan. Red,
You could say that.
red till death here.
Oh yeah, fight on.
Yeah. Yeah, Bruins suck, and going forward, you've kind of created your own bands here in LA, and you've been with a couple notable. You've been the sideman and leader on multiple occasions out here in LA, and also you just seem to be everywhere. Sometimes one of my first memory of you, Kevin, was when you showed up to this one-off random gig that I had on top of with Jesse McGinty on top of this hotel in LA.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And that was the first time we met, and I was like, whoa, like this dude. I mean, I was like a little ego in my head at that point. Oh man, he showed up to see me play, like really cool. But when I looked at your videos from the VDE big band, I see Jesse's in that band, so I realized today he showed up for Jesse. but my point being is that you show up to a lot of places. I've seen you in the Long Beach hang. I've seen you in the LA hang. I've seen you in the Valley hang. I've seen you, you live and breathe music here in LA, and that really shows through all the bands that you put out and all the people that you play with. Maybe give us a little info about some of the groups that you lead in town.
Yeah, so I because I'm an idiot, I also started my big band here. So currently I have I have a band in Holland that's going to start up working again pretty soon.
Right.
And then a band here, and with the LA band. I'm lucky because we're going to do a gig this coming Sunday at the Mint, and that's going to be the first gig of my own band after November 2019, because I believe that was like November 23rd or 24th. I can't remember for sure.
Is that the videos that are on your page?
Yeah, those are the videos from
Okay.
the Thad Jones Mel Lewis tribute.
Yes. And let me butt in here real quick, but you guys can check out Kevin's website. It's right up here on the right. And go to his media over
It's
here.
a very serious look.
That is a very serious look. I like your current look.
Yeah. It's a little bit more like, hey.
This look is very intense jazzer.
Yeah.
And this Zoom look is very Cali jazzer.
Yeah.
But you could go through his media and check out some of Kevin's great videos here. The ones that we're talking about today is the VDE big band, which is your LA big band.
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, Kevin, you love acronyms. I know there's another LAHO, which is obviously his Los
Oh yeah,
Angeles
yeah, yeah,
Holland
yeah, yeah,
band.
yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
LAHO. That's right.
So yeah, everyone that's watching, go check out Kevin's website. Check out all these great videos. If I had more bandwidth, we'd play some of them. We could still do that, but we're gonna get back to talking here.
Yeah, that's all good.
So getting back to it, yeah, you have your first gig with the big band in a long time with Melissa Morgan, right?
Yeah, that's
Oh nope,
the
that's the
that
26th. My B,
yeah.
my B. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Um, this is featuring Leah Booth at the Mint
Yes.
in LA.
Yes. Yeah, that's going to be I'm super looking forward to be playing with the band again. It's now a band, like I always call up my homies, and during the pandemic, I was fortunate to, like I live in a house with two other musicians who are great, and but because all of us don't really have like any family in the direct neighborhood, I kept like a close circle of friends during the pandemic, um, which was like like maybe 5 or 6 people in total. Leah was one of those people to a certain point, and then my buddy Shane, who plays guitar in the band. Um, but yeah, it's a group of homies of mine, and we're all homies from each other. And the Kevin Canner called me up a few weeks ago and said that they wanted to do a jazz Sundays at the Mint, something new, and he wanted to have my big band as the first band to open that new series
Wow, is that gonna be
on
every Sunday?
yeah, they're gonna do it every Sunday
Right on.
with like a main opening act at 8 p.m. And then after that main act, it's Sam Hirsch with his trio. So Canner is playing and Luca Alamano will be playing on bass after the main act. And then after that, there's also a jam session for everybody who wants to come join into the
Wow.
fun. But the first Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 29th,
Yes.
is my big band, and that's featuring Leah Booth. She's going to sing a couple of vocal tunes with us, and we're going to play like a mishmash of uh, charts that I've played over the years with the band. So we did this Thad Jones Mel Lewis tribute in November of 2019 with John Clayton and Bob Mincer and John Beasley. Nobody good. Um, and so I picked out a tune from that program. And I also have a long-standing relationship with saxophone player Dick Oates. So I'm bringing in a tune that he was featured on, um, which is also a Thad Jones tune, but it's arranged by a very nice tenor player who lives in New York, Chris Byers. So it's kind of like a mishmash of tunes that we're going to play, and we're also playing some vocal tunes with Leah, which are arranged by a good friend of mine, Danny Giannacucci, who is a great trumpet player and big band leader
Right on.
himself, who has his own band here in LA, but he also leads a band in New York.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's just going to be a cool mishmash of things that we've done over the last couple of years. And Bob Shepard will be playing in the band. Brian Clancy, Jason Fabus, Alex Isles, Ido Meshulam, Jay Jennings from Snarky Puppy, Mike Rocha, my partner in time, Max Kraus on bass.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's just a very cool group of people
That's
that
wonderful.
we're going to play some super sick music.
I feel almost like it's 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 reversed to put the big band before the trio on a
Yeah,
night like that.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's like I understand, but I also feel like why don't you guys just switch? But you know,
yeah.
that's just personally me. if I were the sound guy, I'd be like, man, you mean I gotta tear down all these mics and set up for a trio next? What the?
Well, yeah, or have the biggest thing first and then continue with the smaller thing.
Yeah,
But
less
you
to
know,
break down at the end of the night. Okay, all right,
yeah, 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 yeah.
all
And
right. Well,
there are more musicians in the house, so for everybody who wants to jam and we'll hang and that kind of stuff. So
absolutely.
it's gonna be a good night.
Go check out Kevin at the Mint. September, no, August 29th. Wow, August 29th. It's almost September. August 29th
I know
at the
it's
Mint.
it's it's flying by,
And
man.
this is the first of Jazz Sundays at the Mint. That's really cool. I would I would say if there's anyone else out there that wants to get in at the Mint, this is a good opportunity to shoot your shot. So come on out.
Yep.
And I also saw, there's a couple of rotating names in your arsenal that I've always seen you kind of play with. Will Brahm,
Mm-hmm.
Taryn Ray,
Mm-hmm.
and the recently moved Nick Mancini, who Nick, I believe, moved out into the Midwest, right?
Yeah, he lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma now.
Oof, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma. Yeah,
Oh, what
and
a beautiful morning.
yeah, you are the right hand man of many many wonderful musicians. How do you keep yourself so elastic, man? What is it that you think that draws people to want to work with you? If not to get
Hmm.
so deep on anything, but yeah, if there's anything maybe musical or non-musical that I mean, you're obviously a great hang. We haven't
Ye-
had a lull in our conversation yet, so
That's good, right?
yeah, that is a plus.
And not only on here, but when we come across each other at jams or whatever,
Yeah,
that's always good fun.
absolutely.
Um, that is a very good question that you're asking. Hmm, I believe I'm definitely interested in the music that Nick and Will and Taryn create and make. Um, but they are definitely three people who are also very near and dear to my heart. And I met Nick for the first time, and I believe that also goes for Taryn, I think. No, with Taryn it's different. But I met Nick for the first time at the Falls,
Mm.
and this a little while ago. And I think we played a tune together, but we just started talking and talking shit to each other. And uh,
Ah,
and he can be like such a sarcastic uh, joker guy, which I totally dig. So we were, like we have like
sense of humor.
similar type of energy and humor.
Yeah.
So that kind of locked together pretty nicely. And I think like a year after we met, we did like a CD recording of our buddy Mike LeBrun, who's a great tenor saxophone player.
Uh-huh.
And that's where we really felt like, okay, we have like a bunch of commonalities personally, but also musically wise. Um, so yeah, I kind of rub off on that, like of people who have like either very different type of energies or similar. Because I met Taryn actually at the Baked Potato when she was playing there with her big band. That was the first time that I heard her big band,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like maybe like several weeks in after I moved out here. And Taryn is a super like open and very social, like lady, and she was like, "Oh, you're new here," and and we started to have a really nice musical and friendship relationship over the course of the years, and now especially I call her my LA sister from a different mister, I because at some point I got an invitation from her, like, "Hey, are you doing anything for Thanksgiving?" And I was like, "No, I don't have plans." "Oh, come on over and like come and meet my family." And Thanksgiving went into Christmas, and like now I know her mom and I know her grandma,
Oh
and
man, that's sweet.
I'm good buds with her boyfriend with Zach,
Mm.
who's a great guitar player as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, she kind of turned into some LA family of mine, and last guy that you mentioned, Will, is just a ridiculous guitar player with a very great sense of dedication, because that guy goes really hard about his craft and about his playing, and very, very determined, and has like such great goals set for himself, and that was kind of uh, and we link up musically also very well. Like he plays very rhythmical and throws a lot of rhythmical shit at me, which I can easily hook up to. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like, oh, this guy is like super cool hang, and he's a great guitar player. So that those kind of things to me go hand in hand. Like musicians who are like an awesome hang, but are great musicians as well. And that's kind of where I'm going off of.
Yeah. Right on. So I feel like you kind of hit on a couple good points there. Being one of which is also, I mean, obviously to be a great hang, uh, I feel like almost the better hang will get the gig versus talent sometimes. For
Right.
like if you're good and a jerk, like really no purpose to book you. But if you can keep the beat and hang and get some tacos after, you're kind of more in.
Yeah.
Secondly, too, I feel like you've identified musicians that you hook up with musically as well, and that's if you're liking the same music as them, as we were kind of alluding to earlier, like when you were talking to Jeff and John about their favorite music. I'm sure with all these people you might have similar records that you've listened to or are currently listening to. So it's also, I always find it funny when I meet someone and I'm like telling them I'm listening to this record, like, dude, I'm listening to that record too, and it's usually at that point where I'm like, man, well, we should play because
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you're on the same wavelength as me, like now, you know.
Yeah.
So I always think that's really cool. Um, okay, let me click on my notes here. Since you were kind of talking about your LA family here, let's kind of dive into this the West Coast Jazz Hour that you've been doing. I believe this is also a pandemic baby of yours. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the
Yeah.
drum
That's
stream is
that's
a
true.
pandemic baby.
Hey, man.
So is the West Coast Jazz Hour and you have a co-host Josh Nelson, wonderful pianist,
Yeah.
producer, artist in his own right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why don't you tell us how that started and where it is now?
Yeah, so one of my and Josh is definitely also part of the LA fam, because I have a lot to thank for what Josh has done for me, and what he means to me. Um, but yeah, we were like, I don't know, we were probably like a month in the pandemic, and I was feeling like kind of lost, like didn't know where I wanted to go, musically, or what's going to happen with our careers and all of that. Um, so I actually sent an email to John Clayton, and I was like, "Man, I'm like feeling kind of lost. I don't know what to do. You know, do you have like any, advice for me that you can give?" And he was like, "Man, you just have to look around in your village, because it literally takes a village. You can't do it by yourself. So look for some friends who you have like a common thing with, and maybe you can put something together remote, or play make some recordings remote, or whatever."
Yeah,
And I knew that Josh was very into the West Coast jazz and the tradition of the West Coast, and uh, you know, I got in touch with Josh, and I just said to him like, "Hey, like, would you be interested in just doing like an online listening session over Facebook, and that people can just chime in?" And we had so much fun listening to stuff that I played that he didn't know, and stuff that he played that I didn't know. That I was like, wow, this is amazing. Such a cool, exchange of,
Mm-hmm.
music and stuff that I didn't know. And we were like, should we do this next week again? And we did it for a second week, and then Anthony Wilson showed up, and he was like, "Dudes, this is super cool. Um, do you know this? Do you know that?" And then the third week, we had Anthony as our guests, and from there we started to get in, guests with the show who are part of this lineage of the West Coast jazz
Mm-hmm.
tradition. So we started to interview Terry Gibbs, Bill Holman, John Clayton, Chuck Berghofer. We interviewed Sue Rainey, Lori Pepper, who's Art Pepper's widow, um, Alan Kaplan, Wayne Bergeron, Jeff Hamilton, Peter Erskine, Roy McCurdy. People who have played with the old school West Coast cats,
Mm-hmm.
but are also part of the tradition, and then all different kinds of facets of the West Coast jazz, because it's a very diverse scene out here. It is now, and it has been historically also, because you have like all of the studio guys that were like working in the studios at Capitol and United and East West, and then you had like the club scene, Shelley's Manhole, Dante's, Charlie O's. What else is there? Also, the places where Terry Gibbs played with his big bands.
The
Uh,
Lighthouse.
the Lighthouse. Shouldn't forget the Lighthouse. Terry Gibbs played at the Sundown, which is an old club that doesn't exist anymore. But
Okay.
then there's also the whole tradition of Central Jazz Avenue, which is like the southern part of LA, where all of these kind of clubs where Mingus played and Dolphy played and Buddy Collette and Gerald Wilson and Ellington and Billie Holiday, and that's a little piece of, or it's a big piece of history of LA jazz that oftentimes seems to be overlooked
Mm.
and forgotten. So we try to really uh, show the vastness of the LA jazz and the West Coast jazz. And we started to do it with a couple of guests, and now we're doing it actually today. We're doing a Facebook show with vocalist Pinky Winters, and that's our 41st episode,
Right on.
because we did it every week at the start of the um, pandemic, and then from January of this year we do it bi-weekly. Um, so yeah, that's been an amazing journey to go through all of that music, and to have like a master class every time when you get to play, or when you get to talk actually with a person
Mm-hmm.
from that piece of history. You learn so much about the music in general, and the and their backgrounds, and also the stuff that they recorded, and then I go on this whole tangent, like, oh, I find this recording on Discogs, and then you'll find something else through another artist who plays on that recording, and then you just go down the rabbit hole
Right.
from
Right.
there.
So, if you were to give me the kind of the three sentence pitch on your on this, I don't know, do you call it a podcast or do you call it a show?
uh, it's either or.
Is it on
Where
a
where
at
some
like where maybe the first question is where can people find it?
You can find all of our archived videos on YouTube. That's on my YouTube channel,
Okay.
youtube.com/Kevin Van den Elzen. And when we go live, we always do that on Facebook. And you can find that on our West Coast Jazz Hour Facebook page. That's facebook.com/West Coast Jazz
Right on.
Hour. Or you can find it on my personal page or on Josh's personal page.
Okay. Very cool. You guys, it seems to me like it's half like LA history really specifically honing in on what was happening in LA. You're interviewing either musicians that are in LA or really gave new breath to the LA scene at that
Yeah,
time and currently.
yeah,
Um, and with having Josh as the kind of the Angelino on the scene and you as the new I mean the just newer than him Angelino, let's put it that way, but like you know coming from the outside, and also you have all the history and the records on your ear too, which is, I mean,
yeah,
it has to be such a great duo coming into something like this.
yeah.
I envy the co-host. You know, I think that Brandon's not here today. He had some other things to get towards, but same with us. It's just we kind of try to do I don't know, the dynamics between your co-hosts has to has to gel.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And me and Josh got to know each other really well over the pandemic and through these Zoom things that we've done with our guests, and we just work really well together. Also musically, because we started to do some musical performances that are born out of the Facebook show, the West Coast Jazz Hour.
Okay.
Um,
And you're gonna
but
have a live one like in
yeah,
person. Tell us about that. How's that gonna function?
Well, that is kind of like a dream come true for the both of us because we've put together an all-star big band where we're going to perform with at Vibratos on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
That is the what is it? The
It's the
26th? Yeah,
26th.
it's the 26th. Um, and we are going to play with a full band that is comprised out of it's a multi-generational band. So we have a couple of young people in the band, but we also have people who were actually on the show with us on the YouTube / Facebook show. So Chuck Berghofer, who was on the show, Alan Kaplan was on the show, Sal Lozano was on the show, Gene Cipriano was on the show, which is incredible that we have Sip on the show because he's the absolute legend of the band. Um, but other people are Ron Stout, Larry Coons, um, Rusty Higgins, Ido Michelum, Alex Isles, uh, Matt Franke, and Dave Richards. So we've put together like an all-star band where we're going to play the music of the composers from the West Coast who we love. So Johnny Mendel, Bill Holman, um, John Clayton, Bob Florence, Henry Mancini. Um, so yeah, that and some pieces that we also featured on our show actually that we get to play live. So it's something completely special that we're doing, and we're doing it unfortunately for one night only. Yeah, that's going to be something truly special that we're going to feature that
Yeah.
music of the West Coast with Melissa Morgan also as our featured vocalist.
Wonderful, wonderful singer. Holy cow. Well, that's excuse me. That's gonna be really cool.
Yeah,
Is that gonna be live streamed just like your show, or is it gonna be in person only?
that's an in-person show only. Yeah,
Okay.
Vibratos doesn't do any live streams,
Oh
unfortunately.
well, you could sneak your phone on your music stand with the Holy stand. Just
Well, who knows? Who knows?
only time will tell, and only if you follow Kevin on Instagram and Facebook and go check out the West Coast Jazz Hour with Josh Nelson, happening bi-weekly. Come on, you
Yeah,
guys, everybody.
every Tuesday bi-weekly.
Every Tuesday at what time?
4:30 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, right on. Good. Now I know a time I can't pick for when I
Yeah,
have to reschedule. No, I'm kidding.
yeah.
So, man. So, I mean, I feel like the writing's on the wall here, man. You love big band,
That's
and
absolutely true.
and big band in the past decade hasn't gotten a fair shake, in my opinion. It's been looked looked at as old swing era. It's lumped into the 30s and 40s swing era music, and it's been thought of as an old institution, you know, convince me otherwise, and convince the world otherwise why big band is here to stay in LA.
I believe that big band is not going to go anywhere, especially in LA, because all of the greatest ensemble players and studio players are here, and they want to play big bands. So you have bands such as Monkestra of John Beasley, the Tom Kubis band, which is the only band right now which is performing steadily. They have a gig every month at the Gas Lamp in Long Beach,
Right. Woo-woo.
and that's a incredible band. It's a killing band. Um, and let me see. Well, my band is there, and you have a bunch of young cats out there, man, who are putting together their own bands. Like John Hatamiya has his own big band.
Kyle Myers.
Kyle Myers, I was just going to mention him. Yeah. Um, I know that
Jacob
Zane,
Mann. Jacob Mann,
Jacob
big band.
Mann, obviously,
Oh, that thing is so sick.
that and his music is really really incredible, and that band is super sick, definitely. Um, and Zane Johnson also put some stuff together with his band. Craig Kamel has his own big band. So there's a bunch of stuff out there, modern stuff, and then
Yeah,
we're not even talking about the East Coast stuff,
sure.
because there are some really really burning cats with their own big bands out there. So uh, and everybody does it a little bit in their own way. Like some people are really creating their own uh, progressive music. Other
Hmm.
people, they base it a little bit more on the traditional swing tradition. I would say traditional swing tradition. That's a little double, but hey,
Yeah.
I'll take it. Um, and I think that it's just very very interesting that the tradition just still exists and is keeping and moving forward. And
Yeah.
you know like here in LA, you hear so many jingles and movie soundtracks nowadays that still are recorded by a big band, and it's all those cats that you see in the studios or in the Cuba's big band, or sometimes I'm fortunate that they're in my band, um, or in Bob Minster's big band when Bob plays with his big band out here too.
Yeah.
Every like sometime he hasn't
Bill
done it a
Cunliffe has
whole.
his big band too.
Cunliffe,
Now that I'm thinking
exactly,
about it. Yeah.
and Cunliffe is so prolific with his writing. He's
Hmm.
an incredible composer, arranger, and piano player, and is also definitely part of the tradition because he was in Doc
Buddy
Severance's
Rich's
band
band.
and Buddy Rich's band, and played with Thad and Mel's band too, and so he's just a treasure. And you have like, and then don't forget the Clayton Hamilton guys.
Sure.
They're also still around, and trying to get some stuff going with the big band, I guess, again. So
Hmm.
it's definitely for as long as the people are interested in that music, and that people are willing to play in a big band, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Let me get to that thing of willing to play in a big band.
Yeah.
A lot of the I'll just be frank. A lot of the cats that you listed are A list people. How are is it are they doing it for the love of the music to a sense? Like when I hear sometimes of people getting paid, $25 on the big band gig, for instance, is that just does that come with the territory of leading a band? I mean, how do you navigate getting such great players to come out for whatever is on the table bread wise, or because like sometimes I go by the three M's: the music, meals, and mileage. And
Yeah.
and like if two of the three are satisfied, generally I kind of take the gig. I think money is in there too. Four M's:
Hmm.
money, music, meals, and mileage. So
Yeah.
I should say if three of the four. Usually it's I got to get better than a C or an F
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get the gig. So like yeah. So I mean yeah. How are you? Uh, how do you feel about that and like the the financial. I keep bringing up money on this podcast, but it's so important. So yeah,
It is.
how are you
It
getting?
is.
How do you navigate that?
Well, definitely from the
Not to
start.
give you not to give these pro guys rates out, obviously. Not to sell them
Well,
short.
no, 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 absolutely no. Well, it depends, like those guys, they obviously make their money in the studio, and that's a goal to have like somebody who says like I need a big band and I want to have your band, and that we record something in the studio, and then obviously there are union rates involved. Um, but when you're doing like a one-off gig, it's like we play for the door, and sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're a little less lucky.
Yep. Yep.
um, but it all comes from the love of the music. And I as you said, I went big for the big band thing. So what I did, I went to the musicians union, which back when I moved to town was still in Hollywood on Vine,
Mm-hmm.
and now it moved to Burbank on Winona Ave, local 47. And I just started to go there and hang, and I saw the Bill Holman band rehearsing there many, many times. And I went to the Mike Barone bands, and I started to sub in those bands. I started out playing a year and a half with the big band of Ron King, um,
Did you go
and
to
then
Jakarta?
I went to Jakarta once. Yeah,
Ah, lucky guy.
yeah, yep, yeah, yeah. I went to Jakarta and I paid my dues.
I know a lot of people join that band just to go to Jakarta.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in my opinion, it's sort of like a rite of passage, like it's a great trip, and I've learned a lot from playing in that band, and the band is great. There are great players in there. Um, and from there, my name started to go around in the circles of the bands which are in the union. So,
Sure.
and I know Jake Reed and Peter is sometimes not available to play in a big band. So I got a couple calls from that John Beasley called me up to sub in Monkestra, or that Dave Slonaker called me up, and I've subbed in a Bill Holman band a couple of times, which that was for me the holy grail, because Bill Holman has performed and played and has been in bands together with my biggest influence, which
Yeah.
is Mel Lewis. And the only thing that he expects you to do in that band is, you know, play how Mel Lewis played those charts. Um, and there are not a lot of people who
Yeah.
a want to do that, or b are interested in doing that. So I went to the Holman band a bunch of times, and Jake got to know that I was really into that stuff. So I got to sub in that band, and it's just a history masterclass that you get over there. And I have a nice relationship with Willis. That's Holman's nickname, or that's actually his actual name. Bill is his nickname. Um, and to be a little part of like that tradition there is just incredible. But on the other hand, you also start to know these top call people who are
Mm-hmm.
coming to the union to rehearse and to keep their chops up and to read some nice music. And I started to get a network going for myself. And I made sure that I was creating projects with a nice repertoire, and also fun to play, challenging to play, but also something that we like could not necessarily sell, but like that we would have a fun time on the
Yeah.
bandstand.
Yeah.
And that started to work out, and slowly but surely I found myself knowing all of these cats who are if you just you know ask them if they want to play with you, then they'll do it, and they
Yep.
won't ask any questions.
That was great advice. Just ask.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because I always go about from like a little saying that we have in Holland, but like you can translate it out here, and it goes like you have a no, and yes is what you can get. So you know,
Ah. That's like it's no until you ask.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right on.
Yeah.
Man, that's what and in Dutch it sounds like what?
Nee is wat je hebt en ja kun je krijgen.
Wow. It sounds like a beer.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of vowels, huh?
Ah, God.
Lots of vowels that
Oh
we're not
man.
that you guys are not used to hearing.
Yeah. Holy heck. Holy heck out here. Um, let's do a little. Let's do a little pause. Wait, where's my sounds? Oh, ooh, Hoss. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate that. Let's do a little pause for the cause here. We're gonna crank our snares. You know what I'm saying? Crank our snares. We crank our snares. You guys can go to the about section of our Twitch and click that little donate button. We're asking for a modest $27 today. We have zero so far. You could be the first one to donate that cup of coffee, or gosh, what could $27 get you? That could get you a that can get you probably two corporate salads at Simple Greens. But you guys know we don't just spend all our money at Simple Greens. We have a website which we put all of our archived videos up on our website www.thedrumstream.com. You can check those out, and yeah, those websites don't pay for themselves, y'all. So if you're listening now or later, www.thedrumstream.com. Also, go to our About section, click that donate button, and show your support to the Drum Stream. Really appreciate that. All right, we got that out of the way. Let's talk about this tour you're gonna go on, the Sinatra Under His Skin tour, which is gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
it's coming up in September. Um, this is I'm assuming is with your the Dutch concert big band. Is this
Yeah,
correct? Okay.
that's true. We're gonna do that in we're gonna start it up in November.
Oh wow, I have September on my notes. Are you sure? No,
Yeah, yeah. So what they do in
yeah, you're
Europe
right.
is that the dates, like here in the States, they say month, day, year,
Yeah,
and in Europe it's day, month, year.
yeah.
So
Why?
that might have been a little confusing. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
why?
I have no idea.
I
It's
guess
the
it's
same
the
question
same.
like why you guys working with AM and PM? We don't work out there
Yeah,
in
or
Europe.
your gallons and all
Yeah, and the whole
and
metric
feet.
system. Let's not go into that subject.
Ah, but no, yeah, let's not go there. But
Yeah.
wow, yeah. So tell us how this came about.
Yeah, this is super cool because this is my reason also for going home for a little while because I haven't been in home. I've been home with my folks in Holland for the last year and a half because
Yeah,
of the pandemic. But I was approached in December of last year to potentially be part of a theater tour with my big bands. Um, and that the show was going to be a tribute show to Frank Sinatra, partly based on the book Dear Mr. S by George Jacobs, and Jacobs was his butler for like about 25 years. And he wrote a book about those experiences that he had with Sinatra, and it's a very cool book. Like you're getting a very interesting insight into the
is that a
backstories of.
relatively new book?
I think it was like written somewhere in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's like relatively new.
There's books on
Yeah.
Sinatra that come out every year. I fear I listen to the radio or something, and they're Terry Gross is interviewing some person that
Ah,
that is like I heard Sinatra and this is all the Rat Pack dirt, and they're just
yeah,
all talking
yeah,
about all that stuff. I bet the Butler one is just like that, honestly. But I want to check that out. That's cool. Dear
yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
S.
It's a very cool book, and it gives a very personal insight also in how Sinatra was. Um, they speak about some music in that book, like that he went into the studio and wasn't feeling it, and then the next day he went into the studio and did it. So there is some talk about some of the great recordings that Sinatra made.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is, kind of like a popular artist. He has worked in films and theater out in Holland, who is going to, sing those Sinatra tunes, and it's going to be with a 13-piece version of my Dutch big bands out there. But the cool thing is that all of the arrangements are made by two cats from the States. One is Kim Richmond.
Okay, right on.
Uh, yeah, so Kim is a dear friend of mine, and has worked with Sinatra himself, and is a phenomenal woodwind player and composer and arranger. So he's taking care of half of the arrangements for the band, and then the other half is being made by my buddy Danny Giannacucci in New York. Um, and yeah, we're just making a very cool show with, there's going to be a story through the show about Sinatra, and we're then playing like some of his biggest hits, uh, and some of the hits that are familiar to the jazz lover or the Sinatra lover, but also some obscure things, so that that it's a show for everybody, young and old. For the fans of Sinatra, for the fans of the pop artist, Yim is his name, um, for the fans who don't know anything about Sinatra, or for the fans of jazz and big band. So the tune selection that we have, I'm very stoked about
Is it going to
because
be a band on stage kind of deal?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And you said
yeah,
it's almost like a the person playing Frank is a actor, correct? But he's
yeah.
probably a pretty damn good singer.
Yeah, he's a good singer. He doesn't have. He is not known for performing as a jazz guy, but I'm very curious how he's going to pull that off, and he's taking it very seriously because he's working with a vocal coach, also to get really into the style,
Yeah,
and and how Sinatra sings with his pronunciation and all of that stuff.
that's cool.
But the cool thing is that there's also, so we have the guy who portrays Sinatra, but we also have a guy who is a narrator and who's going to tell the stories, basically. So I think it's going, and I think that guy is also kind of like interactive with the audience. So I don't know. I have still no idea. I know only about the music because I'm just a music guy.
Yeah,
But I think this is going to be a really cool show that for sure pays homage to Sinatra's
right
legacy.
on. That sounds like something that would do really well out here. Do you
Yeah.
have plans of making a U.S. tour of this with Win or
Uh,
with another vocalist?
uh, I don't have any plans for this just yet because I'm busy with the logistics for the tour in Holland
Sure.
with my lovely manager out there. Um, so that takes a pretty decent chunk of my time already.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely something that could happen out here for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. We'll keep your eyes peeled for that. Really, that's
Hmm.
going to be really cool though. It's like a double whammy to go see your folks and to go play a tour.
Yeah.
How long is the tour?
It's going to be for about 2 months. We have
Holy,
we
wow.
have 20 gigs. We have 20 gigs lined up. So it's basically that we're playing every Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay, man, that's awesome. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
So if
looking
you're in
forward to
Holland, everybody, make
that.
sure you put it on your calendar. Look out for Kevin in November. It's going to be a ball in time.
That's for sure.
Wow. So we'll start winding down here, but some things we didn't really get to hit, or maybe some of the. What do you feel like some of maybe the biggest challenges that you faced coming out here from the beginning of your graduate degree till now?
Ooh, boy, you're You're really on a roll with asking good questions. Um,
You're great at answering
man,
them.
I try. Man, there have been there. I mean, the past year, the pandemic has been a challenge. Um, like as a foreign resident who is on an artist visa out here, I wasn't able to get unemployment. um,
Hmm.
I was applying to grants and relief funds from all different kinds of organizations, which helped me get through this thing a lot. So that was definitely a challenge, and it was also kind of like a psychological challenge to hear the government say like, oh yeah, foreign residents, if you're on an artist visa, then this can potentially endanger your application for future visas or green cards or whatever. So I was like, okay, great, another challenge on top of not having any work. um, so that was a pretty big challenge that was hard to get through, but I made it on the other side with the good graces of the universe and a little bit of
Right.
help of some friends here and there. And I'm on a new visa with the help of Josh because he started a GoFundMe for me, which was super
How
successful.
does that work? I'm just unfamiliar with that process. What? How? Why was the GoFundMe started? And
The
yeah.
GoFundMe was started because of the costs for the lawyer, for an immigration lawyer, and for the application fees of the extension of my visa, because I didn't have any work and I also didn't have any money for that. So you know, I I had a pretty rough first week of the year, I remember, because I was like, how in the hell am I going to do this? I have
Yeah.
no idea. I was completely clueless. And I talked with some people, and then I talked with Josh about it, and he was like, I'm just going to start up a GoFundMe campaign for you, and I'm sure that we'll raise some money. And within 2 days he had the goal amount reached, and he went
That's
over
awesome.
also.
That's awesome.
um, so I literally have like the entire music community to thank for me being here,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have been here if that I doubt it seriously if I was still here, if that didn't happen. Um, so it's and that that's also the topic of a larger subject, because sometimes as a foreign resident or an immigrant, it's not always that easy to be here because of bureaucratic bullshit, visa stuff.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a challenge. Um, Sometimes, and that just happens like very, very rarely. It's just basically, like every time when you have to like extend or go for a new visa, or this pandemic stuff definitely brought to light some issues that I never expected that I would face.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one thing. I mean, in the beginning, it took me a little bit of time to adjust to some of the cultural differences that are out here, which I now, made completely my own. And actually, it's kind of, it's more or less the same now. Um, in I would say in Europe, and this is, or at least in Holland, and this is in no way any like critique of like how people are looking here at life or politics or business or music or whatever. But I feel that in Holland, I see a little bit more um, grounded people. Here in LA, we are in the city of, the capital city of entertainment, and a lot of people are coming out here to become successful as a, actor, or, musician, or whatever type of, like art you're finding yourself doing out here. But it brings along a little bit of some yeah, some superficial aspects to it. And I believe I see that with Dutch people and in several other European countries as well, that there's a little bit more, it's a little bit more grounded out there. And I've really adapted to making myself grounded here. But then just, it took a little bit of time to do that. Um, and that's like a challenge from like a little while ago. But like, when I came out here and and like I'm super game to, like hang, as you said, like I hang out with, people in the Valley or Long Beach or, downtown LA or Orange County or whatever, because I dig to hang, and I dig to hang with lots of different people.
Yeah.
And people out here, when I showed my face around town for the first time, people were super gracious. Um, like they were like, "Oh, you're from Holland. That's super cool. Like, what are you doing here? Oh, you go to USC. That's also super cool." Like I felt very welcomed out here by the scene and by the people in the school, because I was thinking like, "Oh shit, this is going to be like a New York type of deal, where they're gonna go like, huh, who the hell is this guy? But it was completely the opposite. Um, so that wasn't exactly a challenge, um, but um, but it's part of making myself grounded and making myself feel at home here,
Right.
and I definitely do that now that I very much feel myself here at home, away from home, basically. So um, yeah, it took a little bit of time to adapt,
Hmm.
but here we are,
Yeah, and we're still playing, which is great.
and we're still
Do I,
playing.
do I
Yeah.
understand correctly that the artist visa, it, how would I say, it restricts your lines of work to do what only your degree is in. Is this correct?
Yes, it restricts me of just doing my work what my visa is meant for. So I'm an artist, so I'm only meant to do, work in my line of artistry, which is music.
Right.
So
But so it
even
means like you couldn't even go get a job at Subway.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
And wow, and I think that's kind of lame of the that's I feel like that's some bureaucratic bullshit, as you said earlier, because like how can you support yourself, at or I know so many people that have had to go home because they can't
Yeah,
find, especially during the pandemic, for all intensive purposes here, like that have had to go home because they can't, all their students that they were teaching might have been the only thing that they were doing if they weren't gigging. And
yeah.
all those students, I know I had a pretty budding in teach in person, um, at one studio, had up to like 9 students, and it got slammed down to one online student, at the
Whoa.
beginning of the pandemic. So I was,
Yeah.
luckily I had, savings, and I fortunately enough, with my citizenship being at the status that it is, I got to get on unemployment for a while,
Yeah.
thankfully,
Exactly.
and that saved many of my friends' bacon, um, through it all. But yeah, not even having that social security net, to me shows, your strength and your passion and your persistence in getting this stuff happening, but also that, that you have a whole army of people around you that are ready. Like the village is strong in your court. I think that's
Yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah, and I'm like extremely grateful for all of those people, and it's it was at the time of that GoFundMe, it was an incredible humbling experience. Um, and I never asked, any help in my life. Like I was able out of undergrad to pay my own rent and do all of these things. And this was like the first time in my life that I had to do something like that, or that Josh asked me, like, are you willing to go public? And I was like, well, you know, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And the outpour also that I received was just incredible. It was something that I will never ever forget in my life. That
Yeah.
was I was really at a low point at that time, and at all from one day to the next, it just like leaped up. It was incredible to experience something like that. So this music community that we have out here is truly amazing and something special. And in the past couple of months, I've seen a bunch of GoFundmes popping up, and I always try to participate
Hmm.
in that and donating a little bit of money, to just help out how I can, because I've been on the other hand, I've been on
Yeah.
the other end of it as well. So I want to pay back, um, to people who are in need
Yeah.
as well.
Paying it forward.
Yep, exactly.
Right on. Well, Kevin, your story is inspiring, and it should inspire others to keep drumming, keep playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, to stick to their guns on whatever they want to do, and just go all in.
Yeah,
It's been a really it's been a pleasure talking and getting to know you more. I feel like we've talked maybe definitely not this long,
no.
I'm try I've usually it's and not this quiet of an atmosphere,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
so
Yeah,
it's been just as much fun for me as I hope it has for you.
it's
Um,
been amazing, man.
the
Yeah, the
the
the,
drum
the
stream
questions that
audience.
the questions that you asked were like, all right, let's get into it.
Yeah, yeah, we try to keep it official here on the stream. Um,
Yeah,
so I think we're gonna close out here. If that's good with you.
that's all right with me.
And the audience has been quiet, but I know they've been in and out. So thank you for
Cool.
everyone popping in, enjoying the stream. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, and I'll announce the guest here in a couple days. So, Kevin, thank you so much for being a part of the stream here,
You're very welcome. Thank you, man.
and good luck on all your adventures in and abroad. And
Yes.
I'll make sure to see you sooner than later. I'm sure
Oh, I'm sure we'll
in
run into
in
each
the
other.
real world.
Yep.
All right, signing off here at the drum stream. See y'all later.